Welcome to Real Estate Exposed, helping people in San Diego buy, sell, and refinance their biggest investment. Delivering you timely truths, exposing important issues, and helping you get into the right home. Real Estate Exposed.
I'm gonna make this place your home.
Here are your hosts, real estate expert Daniel Beer, top-ranked professional by sales volume at one of San Diego's largest brokerages, and his mortgage partner, Todd with over $2 billion in funded loans.
Good morning to you, Sunday mornings, and we are really happy to be back on Real Estate Exposed here on News Radio 600 KOGO. We have a great show. Todd, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
It's going to be there's a lot going on in the San Diego environment right now economically, and we're going to jump into discussions about what we're experiencing with the airport situation and our limited runway space, how that affects the economic environment in San Diego.
Yep.
The Chargers. And Todd, one that really
hits close to home is that one Paseo project that just got, shot down from the city council after they approved it. I mean, that one Paseo project looks awesome. I don't really understand why people in Carmel Valley, Del Mar are so concerned about this being a bad project. I mean, I think this is going to create jobs. This is going to create opportunities. I mean, they're talking about living space. They're talking about building homes there. They're talking. It's like a little mini playground. I mean, it's going to have movie theaters, restaurants, work, all kinds of stuff. And now the city council, after approving it, has shut it down again. I don't really understand why San Diegans are so against change.
We've always been against change, but that's part of who we are in San Diego, and I say that facetiously because I wish it was different. Well, look, your office, to be fair, and just take a look at the other side of the coin. Your office is around the corner.
So our office is around the corner from the racetrack as well, and during racing season, traffic's really bad then too. So should we get rid of the racetrack?
Well, what I wonder is really how much worse it truly would be with the One Paseo project, because with the expansion that already happened at the Del Mar Highlands project right across the street, and that parking lot is jam-packed. You couldn't fit another car into it. It's hard to park there.
A lot of great restaurants there, though.
You're still going to flow right down Del Mar Heights. You're still going to be able to turn on El Camino whenever you like, and it's really not become an issue. I think more than anything, it's a fear-driven stall by the residents there, and primarily the biggest opponent of it, as I understand it, is actually, and funding a lot of money to stall it as much as possible, is the owner of the Del Mar Highlands project.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's going to be major competition. There's going to be a lot of retail space, restaurant, beverage. There's going to be, One Paseo is going to be pulling at that customer base.
Same one that he or she has. Well, I didn't realize that, but I mean, I can tell you that. We were super excited about it going in.
For real estate values in the area, I would absolutely believe this would be positive, because there is nothing negative about having more, just more amenities, more restaurant and beverage options. If you live in the area, you know that eventually you're eating at the same three places anytime you're out to eat.
Correct.
I mean, even with the expansion of Del Mar Highlands, that's just the way it goes.
Correct.
And so it really comes back to this issue as San Diegans, going all the way back, tying this into the airport we have with our beautiful single runway airport.
Yeah, wasn't there talk of some time about us moving the airport over to a different area?
Well, they've been discussing it for years. Was it going to be at Miramar? Was it going to be out in the desert? Were they going to build something in the Chula Vista area? I mean, it literally got to the point where they were talking about doing it in the desert and training people in. And in the deeper impact of having this single runway airport with limited direct flights is that we're putting ourselves in economic risk because we just don't want to change as a city. And you're listening to Real Estate Exposed here on News Radio 600 KOGO. We are live in studio. If you want to discuss any of these projects and your viewpoint on whether or not we have a problem in San Diego with change, give us a phone call. We're live in studio. We'll put you on air. And that phone number is 800-600-KOGO. Okay, that's 800-600-KOGO. And so it even gotten to the point where, because of our limited runway space, we're being now threatened by Comic-Con, one of the biggest economic drivers that we have as far as tourism goes in San Diego, that they're going to relocate possibly to the new expanded convention center in Los Angeles. And that trickles down to all the local businesses.
Wait. I didn't, as a nerd, I didn't realize they're talking about moving Comic-Con.
They're talking about moving Comic-Con to Los Angeles. They were close to already pulling the plug. They kept it here for another couple of years.
Wow.
And Los Angeles has this beautiful new expanded convention center.
Right.
And that is something that if that were to happen, and if you if you own a business downtown, or in Mission Valley, or if you know somebody that does, or if your cousin, uncle, best friend knows somebody that does, this will all trickle back down to the business environment in those neighborhoods, the people who own those businesses, and eventually, of course, right down to the real estate environment, because there's simply less economic activity in San Diego, and that drives the real estate market.
Well, it also brings a lot of people down here to San Diego. I mean, to see San Diego. I think I've read statistics. It's a couple $1 billion in tourist income just from Comic-Con. And I mean, for me, my wife and I love going downtown during Comic-Con and having dinner, sitting outside and watching all the people. I mean, that's one of the staples of what we like about Comic-Con.
And to me, what you're touching on right now is, do you value, and how do you, I'd love to hear from you, the listener, how do you value just simply having a culturally rich city? Because this gets right into the Chargers situation too. If we do not if we don't keep this team here, and the Chargers, the commission, the planning committee that was put together to put a financing proposal and came up with what I would judge to be an extremely balanced starting place for a negotiation between the city and the Chargers, though it's been bashed by plenty. If we let them go to Los Angeles, if we forever keep a single runway airport. And I was recently speaking with somebody from the airport commission, and literally we have an airport like Akron, Ohio's airport.
We do?
We have an airport like Tulsa's airport. We have an airport like Syracuse, New York does.
So we're not a small town anymore.
Come on. We're one of the best and biggest cities in America. We call ourselves America's finest city, but we cannot seem to pull ourselves out of our small town mentality and simply do the right thing for the economic survival and benefit of our residents, which is to keep our economy growing. And so I'm a real estate agent.
Well, just so you know, there was an article that came out yesterday I read that even your client LT said he believes the Chargers are going to LA. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. I'm going to have to shoot him a text and see if he got that from where.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. Yeah. But it's I'm coming to grips personally with that. It's going to be entirely more and more likely that could happen, because you just, we're
going to push ourselves back into the Stone Ages if all this stuff happens. So,
well, I'm just so disappointed with the leadership we have in this city. As a real estate agent and owning a real estate team, I understand that ultimately I have a fiduciary responsibility to do the best I can with the best terms, best price, best situation for the betterment of my client. And in a sense, we are, under that same guidance, that same umbrella of our city government and city leadership. And yet it's, I personally don't wake up in the morning feeling like they want me to go to bed with an extra $1 in my pocket than what I woke up with.
Well, that's true.
And so it's it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Fortunately, there are also people pushing for a lot of this development, and we'd love to hear from you. Like I said, this is Real Estate Exposed on News Radio 600 KOGO. You are listening to Daniel Beer and Todd Pianin. We're going to be right back with a discussion regarding technology, real estate, and how it's going to change the industry. We're back with you here on Real Estate Exposed, News Radio 600 KOGO, Dan Beer and Todd Pianin. And Todd.
Question for you, Dan. So I was reading an article about technology, and talking about how it's going to change in the real estate, for realtors over the next 5 years. And buyers are, more, it's not just about when buyers are looking for homes for the sake of argument, they're going to the internet, they're doing things differently. What are some things that you're doing differently? I know that on your website, you've got one of the things I talk about actually on this article I read about technology and real estate was that people aren't going to just realtors' websites just to look for homes anymore. They're actually going for more information for, finding out what's the local restaurants or the local schools or what's the walk score or that kind of stuff. I mean,
Well, as a business, and in an effort to serve our buyers in this case, technology is a huge play, and it's really one of the big differentiators between team like ours that might sell 100+ homes a year to your average agent in San Diego, which will literally do about 3. And part of that is that if the only value you're giving your client is the ability to show them how to pop on to some website and find the inventory that's available to literally everybody,
right?
Then you're very close to being extinct an agent.
What about the realtor who talks big about all these magazines? There's some local magazines like Dream Homes or Fine Homes, and that they're saying they're going to get you a full page spread ad. Do you think that sells homes?
Well, I know it doesn't because I've tested it to the tune of over $20-something thousand spent with zero return of any kind, not even a lead produced. So I know it doesn't. It's not anecdotal. In our business, we're not afraid in any way to spend money if it's smart money. We have a tremendous budget. I mean, frankly, our monthly marketing budget is beyond what the average agent's going to make in an entire year here in San Diego. But we don't invest in that because it simply doesn't work. But what's interesting for the home buyer and why they really ought to be interested in what kind of technology their agent has access to,
right,
is we are doing some unbelievable things. I mean, it blows my mind every time I think about the tools that are available to us in order to produce unique inventory to you, the buyer. Because if you've been listening to our show and if you've been, listening to the news or anything out there, that inventory is tremendously low.
Really low. I mean, they said last month, I think they came out and talked about that sales were off by 3.5% last month, but that was not because of lack of buyers. It was
not because of lack of demand whatsoever.
It's a lack of inventory.
It's lack of inventory. There's very little for you to go after. And if you're dealing with an agent that simply shows you what any agent would show you, regardless of who they are, 20-year veteran or first week in the business, you don't have an agent that's leveraging technology. So here's an example of what can be done if you're working with the right person.
Okay.
So we literally have, and it blows my mind, like I said, because this is just so cool. This is where the geek in me just completely comes out because I think it's awesome. It's really cool stuff. We literally have software in our business that when you sit down with us for a consultation as a buyer and we get to learn and understand what your desires are, we can then go to that part of the city, pull it up on our computer screen using software technology we have that where we could draw a polygon around that neighborhood,
right,
on that street, around that block, that subdivision, that zip code, whatever it is that the parameters are we're looking for you. And we can then literally extract the phone numbers that are do not call list compliant out of that polygon, out of that little circle that we've drawn,
little area.
Yeah, that we've drawn right on the screen.
So if I want to live in this little block, you have technology. It says you can have your team call those people and say, hey, I've got a buyer who's interested in living in that neighborhood.
That's exactly right. We'll extract the phone numbers. They'll go right into our dialing system, and the people that we employ full-time on our team to make outbound phone calls dedicated to you, the buyer, you're going to have our team now calling into that neighborhood and saying, hi, Mr. Neighbor. There's very little inventory on the market right now. We have a buyer that's fully pre-approved for a loan and looking for a home like yours. Do you know anybody in your neighborhood that's thinking about selling who's not yet on the market?
So how many wins have you had in that situation with that technology?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. It really drives our business to a great degree. But more importantly than our business, it's the buyer that's getting served so well because Now you're getting in front of a home that no other buyer is aware of, and it was all due to technology.
Right.
So that's a way in which technology really is changing the environment out there, and it's not only making it possible for you as a buyer to take advantage of previously unknown inventory, and so that's a huge, just a huge service to you, but it's also going to change what the industry looks like from the realtor perspective, because the more and more the buyer, if you are looking to buy a home and you understand that this type of that type of activity is possible, are you going to employ somebody that has that or that doesn't have that?
Well, it's kind of like if you go to Nordstrom's and I like a shirt and they don't have it in my size, they don't have it in my size. They what they can do is they can say, well, let me order it from another store. And so basically what you're doing is, I want to live in this neighborhood, and you're using technology to help find me a home, or, like I talked about with Nordstrom's, a shirt in that size by checking with other Nordstrom stores. I don't mean it as dumbed down as that, but that's what you're doing. You're like finding me the place to live as a buyer.
Right. And so that is a way. See, a lot of people think about technology as a possible way where it could extinct the agent.
Yep.
But the fact is that we actually have less for sale by owner activity now than we have had over the last several decades.
Because of technology.
Well, because as agents, we have access to this type of technology where we could have technology become a threat to what we do, such as what happened in the travel agent world.
Right.
Or we could turn it into an advantage of service we can provide that wouldn't make sense economically for a consumer to have a hold of, and even if they did, wouldn't know how to use it properly.
So let's talk about on the listing side, Dan. What kind of technology are you using for, when you go on a listing for someone who's listing their house? I want to sell my house with you. How are you disruptive in that space, or how's technology changing for the listing agent?
Right. And it's all about eliminating the list it and pray model that is so heavily prevalent out there. And you're going to hear me say this forever.
I love that.
I mean, the list it and pray model that every agent out there, for the most part, is going to give you. Let's take some photos, let's slap them on the MLS, and let's pray a phone call comes in and someone wants to write an offer.
Well, don't forget, they're going to go into 100 websites. I'm going to put it on that. It's going to go in the UT and a couple other magazines, and hopefully,
oh yeah, and then hopefully somebody, and then I'll sit around and pray that somebody calls in.
Right.
And by the way, you're listening to Real Estate Exposed live here in studio on 600 KOGO. We're going to give you an off-air number if you wanted to talk in detail about how you could best be served if you're looking to have a consultation either for a mortgage or to buy or sell. And that phone number is 858-356-2020. You may also just be in some kind of jam. You need help. You need advice. We're very happy to give that without any kind of expectation of anything further. And that phone number is 858-356-2020. You can reach us off air all during the week. So
talk
what
about
do we do?
The listing side.
Yeah, on the listing side, there's plenty that can be done. If you think about even that first example I gave, we can use that same technology. But now what we're actually doing is we're drawing that polygon on that screen around your home, basically extracting your neighbors' phone numbers. And the reason we'd want to do that is most people like where they live.
Oh, you talked about this last week.
Yeah, most people are prideful of their neighborhood,
right,
and know somebody that would love to move in.
Right.
So we're going to go ahead and call the neighbors and ask them.
And let them know.
We're going to ask them, hey, here's what we have coming. Who do you know that's looking to buy a home like this? Secondly, we would go into, we have one of the most heavily trafficked websites in San Diego County, and that's SanDiegoHomefinder.com. It generates a lot of buyer activity where buyers will actually register and leave their details with us as far as, in order to be able to search for homes that they're targeting.
Right.
And so our technology, again, will actually log every bit of activity, what those people searched for, what neighborhoods, what sizes, what price points. So if you're selling your home, we now have a database of over 7,000 people that have left their details with us, and we're going to then narrow that down to a home like yours in in the area you live in, and that's going to now become a group that's going to be invited to our grand opening event at the tail end of our 5-day Blitz marketing program.
So we only got a little bit of time left, but what's coming? I mean, technology-wise, you think there's anything that people should know about that? Man,
that's it's going to be interesting to see what's coming. I think really more than anything, it's going to be it's always about time to market, right? It's always about how fast can you get to what no one else has. How fast can you identify property that no one else has identified? And by doing those things, we're going to be best serving our clients. What exactly is coming down the pipe? What we make sure to do is keep an eye on that, but we also are, frankly, careful not to just be focusing on that full time, because if we do that, we become technologists and we start really, serving our clients and strategically and really going deep with what they need from us today. So it's a balance of the two. And again, if you're looking to get in touch with us and you have a question, a mortgage question for Todd, a real estate question for me, you're very welcome to call 858-356-2020. That's 858-356-2020. You're listening to Real Estate Exposed with Daniel Beer and Todd Pianin on News Radio 600 KOGO. We're back here on Real Estate Exposed, and this is going to be a really fun week coming up because Todd and I have decided that in order to just celebrate Memorial Day, which is coming up tomorrow, and it's a great American holiday. So in order to celebrate that day, we always like to do something nice around the holidays.
We always do.
And so we're going to dedicate a day this coming week to simply sit down with you, the listener, if you want to talk purchasing, selling, financing your home, refinancing it, or just simply want an update on your home value, long-term planning, short-term planning, questions.
Are you in the right loan? Is there things that we should be doing for you to help?
Anything. And we're going to be doing those consultations absolutely free. We're going to dedicate a day to just get together with you this coming week. And if you want to pick our brain, no rules around what we could discuss, no expectations, no, literally zero expectation out of it on our end. We just simply want to serve you in honor of Memorial Day. And that phone number for you to go ahead and book that time with either of us is going to be 858-356-2020. That's 858-356-2020. You're listening to Real Estate Exposed with Daniel Beer, Windermere Homes and Estates, and Todd Pianin of Samuel Scott Financial.
So, Dan, during the break, you and I were talking about like sort of wins of the week and some things that, you and I have had, over the last week. And, one of the wins I had was we did a loan for a client about 5 years ago. They moved from back east. They relocated out here to San Diego, and we did their, it was kind of a shock to them on what they could buy for their dollars, because they were, from an area where they had a big home and they spent what your dollars got you. Anyway, needless to say, yesterday I get a telephone call from that same client who we did their loan for 4 years ago, and they said they're now moving up to that home, their dream home that they want. And it was just really cool that 4 years ago, I'm the guy that they're calling, that they're asking to help them with their mortgage. I'm the guy that they're going to work with. And it just showed, their exact words were, you did such an incredible job on our purchase and you made it so easy. And those were difficult times 4 years ago. I don't know if you remember during the credit crisis, but
absolutely.
He called me up and he said, we were buying this new home. We definitely knew we were going to use you and Taisha. That was something that was going to be, it was our number one priority. And so they're super excited. They want to, buy a new home. The cool part about it is obviously mortgage rates are low right now, but also that down payment issues are coming back. Down payment, before you had to put down 20-25% for those bigger type homes. And you and I've had conversations about this, that, you can put down 10% when you're buying a house for $1.3 million, $1.4 million now. In the past, you couldn't do that. We have first and second, so we can do that through. So we have all kinds of cool options. So.
I love the fact that they even remembered your name. I mean, I love that, because it's actually amazing. I have to think it's the same thing in the mortgage world, but on my end of the business, when I go, it's unbelievable actually how often I'll sit at somebody's living room table or kitchen table and talk about selling their home, and I always ask, well, so why am I here? Because they didn't use me to buy the property. I'm just meeting them now for the first time.
Right.
And it's unbelievable how often they don't even remember the name of their agent.
Well, why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, most agents, the answer is honestly very clear, which is that most agents are not running businesses. They're not structured correctly. They're not organized. They're not staying in touch systematically and really looking to serve their clientele well beyond the transaction. If we if you buy a home from my team, you're going to actually get a phone call from us every 6 months asking if you want an update on your home value.
Right.
Now, we're not calling to say, do you want to sell your home you just bought 6 months ago? That's not the point. But if you think about it, it's, we all agree that a home is one of your largest investments.
You also throw great client appreciation parties, though, too, I must say.
Thank you. Thank you. They're fun. We definitely have fun with those. But it's, everybody would agree that a home is one of your very biggest investments you'll ever have.
Yep.
And what's interesting is that...
Wait, what's your win of the week, though? Go to your win.
I'll go there.
Okay.
I'll go there. But what's interesting is they have, this is really one of your biggest investments you'll ever have, yet you never tend to get that phone call again from the person that put you into the investment.
Right.
When on the other side of it, if you go to like the financial planning world, you might have you might have some kind of investment account with far less in it typically than what your home is worth.
But you stay with the same person. I mean, I was with my buddy yesterday. He's been with the same guy for 20 years.
And that person will typically call you and say, quarterly, hey, here's what's going on with your account. Here's the value right now. Just so you know, I think we're still in the right asset classes. This is how much it's appreciated or depreciated over the last 3 months.
Right.
But in real estate, we tend to buy these massive assets and then not even look at what the value is.
Right.
So anyway, I'm impressed that this person actually remembered who you were, came back to you, and that's a testament to you guys just doing a great job.
Well,
because
we embrace technology as well, though, and so we keep in contact with our clients. I mean, we do follow-up calls every 6 or 12 months, make sure that things are good for them. They got their first mortgage payment. If they need help in any situations, we're also constantly emailing them. And
yeah, you can't just be on to the next transaction and forget that person. You can't do it. It's actually amazing. The National Association of Realtors has done studies seeing how many people were actually satisfied with the person they bought a home from. And it's a pretty high satisfaction rating. I mean, it's up in the 80s as far as people that say they would use that person again, but only a small fraction actually do. And it's because by the time they're out to, either sell the home or buy another, they've literally had no communication from that person over the course of years. So kudos to your team. That's awesome. And this is Real Estate Exposed on News Radio 600 KOGO. My personal... just my team's win for the week is it's just really cool to see what happens when you really do kick the list and pray model to the curb and you put a systematic plan in place to actually predictably sell homes in a short period of time for the most the market will bear. And I will say, any agent out there is going to look you in the eye and say, hey, I'll get you the most the market will bear. I'd like you to ask them back, how do you know it's the most the market will bear? If all that's happened is 5 or 6 or 7 people have trickled into my home. That's not the market. That's 5 or 6 or 7 people's opinion.
That's list and pray.
That's just 5 or 6 or 7 people's opinion. That's not the market. So only if you understand that your agent's job is to actually find the entire market and to systematically and strategically introduce them to the home in a competitive fashion where they get to fight amongst each other rather than against you for the home. Well, then you have what most of the market will bear. And so the big win here is that the last, it's at least in the last 6 or 7 listings that we've introduced to the market have all sold in under 10 days at full asking price or greater. So we've actually gone over ask.
Wow.
On one of them, we went $31,000 over the asking price.
Wow.
And it's just awesome. So we're really serving the market in a way that's extremely satisfying. And so you are listening to Dan Beer and Todd Pianin on Real Estate Exposed. You can always reach us off air at 858-356-2020. We'd love to get together with you. We are still here with you this Sunday morning because coming up next, we're going to be talking about the links between rain and the mortgage market. They're actually unbelievably connected. We'll go into that, and we will be right here next with you. And we're back with you on Real Estate Exposed, and I'm spending my morning here, as always, with my co-host, Todd Pianin.
Dan, you kind of got cut off a little bit at the end. I know you want to talk a little bit more about the your 5-day blitz. One of the questions I had for you on that was, the wins you had with that 5-day blitz. I mean, do you hear from clients saying, well, I should list with the person who has the most homes in my neighborhood?
That's a great question, because we actually get that a lot. We'll have somebody ask, well, have you sold a home on my street or in my subdivision? And my question back is, given the fact that we've done this over and over and over, and we have one of the deepest track records in all of San Diego County of successfully implementing the plan, do you believe that we have a marketing plan that works literally this past week, in Chula Vista, in Oceanside, in Scripps Ranch, in Del Sur, Carmel Valley, and Oceanside are the neighborhoods where we sold homes at over the asking price or at the asking price in under a week? Wow. Do you believe that we have a plan that literally works across that vast and different, that many different marketplaces, but just literally wouldn't work on your home or on your street or on your neighborhood? Like, is there a magic... Is there some kind of magic plan that only works on your street that doesn't work in the rest of San Diego County? And so, excuse the sarcasm, but it's a little bit like I have a hard time dealing with illogic, and I'm a logical thinker. I'm a granular logical thinker that just understands that if it worked in all those places, it probably also works on 123 Main Street.
It works everywhere.
Okay, so, but it's amazing, and you know what? For that very reason is why we actually guarantee, and we'll put this in writing. If you ask us, we'll literally put in writing that your home is going to be sold at 100% of the asking price and within 29 days, or we will actually pay you the difference.
Wow.
So. It's not. I'm not doing that because I want to lose my shirt and be out of business by next week. It's because we know that the plan will work. And again, we will literally guarantee to sell the home at 100% of your asking price. So in case you were wondering so
it's not your asking price. It's not the price that you came up with.
It's your asking price, the seller's asking price, and that we agree to. And it's going to be sold at 100% of the asking price within 29 days, or my team's paying the difference.
Wow.
So let's jump into rain. We saw a little bit of this moisture come out of the sky. I wasn't really sure what it was this past week.
It was kind of very unusual for San Diego.
Scared me a little bit.
Yep. Very unusual for San Diego to have all this rain. I was driving around the city and going from appointment to appointment, and all this rain was coming down. And do you realize that people don't? It's like people don't know how to drive in the rain. I don't really get it.
Well, it's, I make a lot of connections between the rain and the real estate market, especially this surprise we found ourselves in. And so, Todd, because I'd love to hear from you, and I think our listener would love to hear from you on the idea of, we allow ourselves to get caught by surprise of rain, especially in the drought we're in. It's like, oh my God, it's raining, like, as if we never thought it would happen again. We never thought that there would be rain falling from the sky, and we're totally unprepared. And frankly, if you were, out just in the middle of nowhere, uncovered, unprepared, unprotected from the rain, and you were caught in it, well, it's your own fault for not realizing that rain would once again come. And Todd, mortgage rates. I'm making a major connection here to mortgage rates because people are acting the same way, just acting almost pompously in the face of the mortgage market and the realities of what is coming.
Correct.
Huge and not preparing themselves properly, and it's going to really hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, there's a huge tidal wave coming, and people don't realize it or see it. You're going to see rates start to click back up. There was rumors that, Fed was going to raise rates in June, which we're not doing now, which is great, but they are going to raise rates before the end of the year. And what's amazing to me is that people are not getting off the fence and are not either locking into refinances now, or they still think rates are going to go lower. They still don't think the economy is that strong, or they're not buying homes. They're not putting their houses on the market. They're not taking advantage of what you can buy today at these lower interest rates versus where it could be, tomorrow. And when I mean tomorrow, I mean in the next 3 to 6 months. The Fed is going to raise interest rates. It's going to happen. And what that will do to the marketplace, well, it will disrupt stuff. I mean, give you an example, Dan, is that, you showed me a chart that you actually have that shows if you were to do a $200,000 mortgage at the bottom of the market, in November of 2012, you would pay $877 a month. Do you realize in 1981, 30-year fixed rates were almost at 18.63%, and that same $200,000 home would cost you almost $3,200 a month, actually $3,177. It's unbelievable.
It's amazing, right? Literally the same amount borrowed, you were going to pay if you got it in the right interest environment, if you actually timed the exact bottom, which, by the way, Todd and I are not at all advocating trying to time the exact bottom or time the exact top. That's how you get hurt. But had you hit it, just to illustrate the point and to urge you into action to invest in your future right now, you would have been literally paying $3,177
a month
versus $877. I mean, you're talking. It's like a
4x.
Profound.
It's like 4x.
Profound difference.
And people don't realize that. That for your move up buyers, Dan. I mean, to get inventory on the market, because the market is short right now. We're saying that there's not a lot of product on the market right now. I mean, I'd be selling my house and moving into my next house because I'd want to take advantage of these interest rates.
Well, so that's what I did, right? So I was living in a townhome. It was a great townhome. We loved it, but we had a life change. My son was born.
Congratulations.
He'll actually be one next Sunday, a week from today. And so my son was born. We had a life change. We knew we were going to eventually make a move, and we could have very comfortably stayed in that property for another 3 to 4 or 5 years. But what we decided was, no, we weren't going to try to time the bottom exactly. We knew we were in an environment where we had very favorable interest rates, and we knew that at some point we would not be able to say that anymore. It might have been that year, and it turned out not to be because we made that move last year.
You still got a good deal.
But it might have been next year, or it might have been the following, but eventually it would absolutely be true. So what we did is we decided to invest in our future by locking in the home we do plan on living in for the next 10, 15. And so I urge you to do the same thing.
But you can buy more, Dan.
You can buy more
at these lower interest rates.
100% you can buy more. And to illustrate that further, in the 2000s, we were in the 6% range. In the 90s, 8% range. 80s, 12% range. In 70s, we were also in the 8% range. So are Todd and I trying to tell you we're going back to 15% mortgage rates? Not necessarily. But are we going to stay here in the 4s? I would not bet a dime on it. And because we're almost out of time, we'd encourage you to reach out to us, talk about it off air, and let's put a long-term plan together for you. That phone number is 858-356-2020. 858-356-2020. Right now is the time to invest in your family's future. It will affect your financial position for years to come. And we've loved having this Sunday morning with you. Happy Memorial Day.
You too, Dan. Have a great Memorial Day.
You're listening to Real Estate Exposed on News Radio 600 KOGO.